Hey, this is Chris Barnes from East Brunswick Public Library. You're listening to our podcast, Read, Watch, Listen, where we talk about things we are reading, watching, and listening in the community. This is going to be a different one of sorts. I'm here with special guest Becca Levin. She's a library associate here at EBPL. And it's kind of weird is because I'll be talking about reading and watching, listening, and Becca's along for the ride and to hopefully keep me out of trouble. Say hi, Becca.
Hi, Becca.
So this is going to be a special themed one. We will be talking about Batman. This is going to be like a special episode of Rick and Morty without any of the profanity, where I'm going to be ranting about something I like, just like Rick would. And poor Becca is going to be in the Morty seat saying, I don't know if that's a good idea to talk about, or really that's something that people like. So this is going to be a fun one. So we're going to talk about Batman. And I want you all to know that there's something ironic about this, because Batman really isn't one of my favorite comic book characters.
Who is your favorite comic book character?
I like Spider-Man, I like Wolverine, I love Superman. Batman is one of those weird characters to me because he doesn't make any sense. Why would you want to admire Batman?
He just throws money at things.
Not even the throwing money at things. He's a poster child for PTSD. He watched his parents get brutally murdered as a kid, and he's never been able to get past that. And he has driven himself into all kinds of ridiculous situations, trying to bring meaning to his life as a result of this. And it probably could have been spent better ways, and he really should have seen a therapist at some point.
Oh yeah, guy needs like a serious support group or something.
Instead he finds friends, not because they bring value to his life, it's because he's like, oh, well, this person is a computer expert and I might need one sometime. So he's built this whole family/army of nutty people who indulge him in his wishes. And another fun fact, Becca, do you know what state Batman is from?
Florida.
No, New Jersey.
No way.
Yes, you can look this up. This is Google provable. You can ask a librarian. So you have to throw that in there because we're a library podcast. But they've been able to, the fictitious city of Gotham City can be triangulated from its reference points. So it would be somewhere in southern New Jersey, somewhere maybe around Atlantic City-ish.
Okay.
So
Atlantic City equals Gotham confirmed.
Yeah, it can be very dark and mysterious and dangerous there. So, let's go talk about some books. Are you a Batman reader?
I've really only seen the movies.
Okay.
So you get a fresh slate.
So I want to give good recommendations of stuff that people might not have already read. So when everyone thinks of Batman, they think of like the super dark and gritty and brooding with a big square chin and muscly and squat. And that's all thanks to the stuff that Frank Miller did. The problem is that was all done almost 40 years ago now, and nobody wants to do anything different with the character because it makes money.
Fair.
So I picked two alternative Batman books that I think are really good. The first one is Grant Morrison's run on Batman. He's several artists. It's kind of interesting because if you've ever read any of Grant Morrison's books, have you?
I haven't.
Okay.
This is a new name.
Grant Morrison started in comics. They've gone on to write all these high concept science fiction fantasy stuff. So in Morrison's run on Batman, it started out with Batman finding he had a child.
Just popped into existence?
Well, there was some foreshadowing. That's been the debate of, it. But there's a Batman villain named Ra's al Ghul, who is the leader of this group called the League of Assassins.
They sound cool.
They're also very deadly, hence the name. Now, the leader of the League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul, has been... sounds so crazy. He's always wanted Batman to get involved with his daughter because since Batman is the greatest human specimen on Earth, he's the smartest, he's the bestest, he's the fightiest, he's everything you would want in a person, to become part of his genetic family line and then would create an heir to his throne of the League of Assassins. So the short version of is Batman's doing his thing and he finds out suddenly that he has a son who's about 10 years old named Damian, who has all of Batman's quirks as far as, wanting to do things in the world, very self-motivated, but he's also been trained to be a master assassin. So his son Damian kind of becomes his latest Robin. So it's this weird parenting story is that you now have Batman who has a kid airdropped into his life they want to be involved with each other, but his kid is horrible in all senses.
Oh no. But Damian knows that Batman's his dad.
Yeah, Damian knows that his dad. So, and he's constantly going after his father. You could be more effective as a superhero. Ooh. All of your other sidekicks, they're all inept. Why won't they kill? Because your whole war on crime is pointless. It's just so interesting to go into it. And then from there, it goes more into the weirder types of stories you'd expect from Grant Morrison. And this ranges from, he starts a foundation called Batman Incorporated, where they wind up sub-licensing the Batman name to other heroes all over the globe. It's just so much good stuff. And I love it because it's such a fresh and unique take on Batman. And James Gunn agrees with me. And so he is going to make his Batman be the Batman and Son storyline, with Batman finding out that he's got this awful child who is also a master assassin.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool.
The other one, going back to the Batman is a PTSD poster child, is the recent run by Tom King. There's been a bunch of artists around for maybe 4 or 5 years. And so through all of this, Batman is finding the realization that being Batman doesn't bring any meaning to his life anymore.
Oh,
it hurts
no.
all the people around him and himself, and it's just terrible. And through this, he winds up falling in love with Catwoman, because they always have had this weird, like, relationship of some sort. There's some hooking up on the side, even though she's a criminal, but she doesn't kill anyone, so he can kind of depend on her, but he, like, would rather not. So all of those stories and subplots are all arranged, and it culminates with Batman proposing to Catwoman, and craziness goes on.
Okay, I imagine that would be a very interesting wedding to attend.
It is. And so through all of this, Batman's going on all the typical superhero exploits that you expect. He's going through this self-journey where he's confronting a lot of that PTSD that he never wants to deal with.
Does he actually see a therapist at any point?
Of course not. He's an eccentric billionaire who dresses up like a bat. But he's constantly thinking to himself, is Batman more worth it for the good that he does to the outside world? Or is it just to placate his own ego and his own feelings of loss and inadequacy?
Ooh, big thoughts.
So there's that. Superheroes are not just for smashing.
Wow, okay, all right.
So, and on the watching for Batman stuff, you can't go wrong with the Bruce Timm Batman the Animated Series from the early 90s.
Ooh, okay, tell me more about that.
So it's all dark. The backgrounds were all completely airbrushed. It was written as a kid show, but it was shown on Fox on like 7 o'clock Sunday evenings. So right before The Simpsons. So it had this really weird crossover adult thing. And again, it's not insulting to an adult to watch as far as plot points and, you know, that, but a kid can watch it. And as a parent, it's like, I've gotten to this point where I'm very cognizant of things that, you know, my child is watching. Like, that's not appropriate, or this is. But this is something meant for a kid, but an adult can watch it and not feel like, oh, this is dumb and corny and this is just silly.
Okay, cool.
So there's that. Did you see the Joker movie?
Yes.
What did you think about that?
I liked it. I've always been more of a Marvel person than a DC person. So I liked it. I thought it was good.
I did, because it was pretty much the whole Joker concept, but it was done so differently and there were so many twists on it. And there's a lot of moments that I'm watching it and cringing, because this is such a, like, not cringing because like, oh, this is a bad film, but it's like, this is such a weird take on anything.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of happy they're doing a sequel on it.
Okay, cool.
So there's that. And the last thing for our Batman read, watch, listen. Have you ever heard the Prince Batman's album?
No? Like Prince, like Purple Rain?
Oh,
Prince?
yes. I don't know how it wound up being greenlit or how this came about. So in the 1989 Batman movie, Warner Brothers commissioned or volunteered, I don't even know, Prince to do a whole soundtrack of it. So there's songs like Bat Dance and Party Man, and it's all like that late 80s Prince sound, but it's all vaguely Batman themed, but also not enough so that nobody would ever want to listen to it. And apparently it sold like hotcakes. There was an episode of Saturday Night Live where Prince was the musical guest and everything was all Batmaned out. It's the weirdest thing, because everybody remembers how good Jack Nicholson was in that movie, and nobody talks about this mysterious, crazy Prince album that was produced as a result of it.
That's wild. Okay, what's the best song off the album?
I would have to say Party Man,
Okay.
because again, it sounds like every Prince song that you'd want in the summer of 1989, but it's kind of advances the plot along. So it's a twofer.
All right, cool. So that's where I'm going first after this.
All right. Well, thank you all for letting me rant about Batman. Becca, thank you for helping guide this ship.
Anytime.
So there's that. You can find all these links on the show notes so you can check it out for yourself. For East Brunswick Public Library, I'm Chris Barnes. Shout out to our producer, Melissa Hosick, for engineering this. And you can listen to all our podcasts at ebpl.org/podcast. Thanks for listening.